Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. We've got a lot of people, huge turnout for today. So while we wait, I'm going to have Lisa just send out a really quick 4-question poll. Take you probably 30 seconds to answer it if you don't mind. Got another 30 seconds and then I'll get started. Okay, well, like I said, thanks for joining. My name's David Graves. I'm the CEO of Aleyant, and co-hosting with me is Lisa Thompson. She's one of our direct sales reps, and I'm sure a lot of people know her and love her. So with that being said, we'll get started. And so thanks again joining the webinar for our public release of PDF2Press. We're very excited to unveil a new solution for pre-press automation today. We are going to redefine where automation begins. So most print providers today are struggling with labor, costs, and time to market. With PDF2Press, we're moving to pre-flighting, fixing, and proofing of files to the moment of the order. So gone are the days of receiving files, having them sit in inboxes while days later realizing, oh, we have issues, delaying the job, missing the deadline, and losing a customer. So with that, let's start moving on this. All right, so according to NAPCO, last year they came out with a report, and they noticed that with their poll, about 70 to 80% of print providers are still receiving files through email, cloud, USB thumb drives, physical forms, and only about 20% of highly automated companies, those files are coming in through web to print. They also looked at bottleneck areas. So some of the biggest bottlenecks, number one up top, proofing and approval. Job estimating, job submission, job ticketing, onboarding, color management correction, file conversion, pre-flighting. So with this report, we started thinking here in Aleyant, hey, this is what our customers are struggling with. What can we do to automate and help their business grow? So what we've come up with is PDF2Press. So PDF2Press allows you to inject files in multiple ways. It is tightly integrated into Presero. Presero is our web-to-print solution. And with that, we can automate when a customer uploads a file into Presero, we can automate a workflow from that. We can also utilize an email watched inbox. We can extract files from that. We can look at a Google Cloud or a OneDrive. Someone uploads a file, we'll grab that file, pre-flight, fix, and proof it. And also through API connection. We're also automating file retention. So you can set policies going forward that stipulate how many days you want to keep your original file that was uploaded, production file, and then you can also automatically delete them after 30, 60, 90, 120 days, and you apply that policy throughout the workflow. If you want, at any given time, you can individually delete or extend policies per job. We are working on an archive function to offload files to the cloud storage as well. We also have file renaming, so when the file comes in, we can set some rules to rename those files. So what PDF2Press is a workflow. You have many options. You can build your workflows. It's very intuitive, great user interface. We have injection points, pre-flight, fixes, imposition, conditions, so for variables or routers, and I'll explain that in a little bit, but you can actually pass information from a pricing calculator, and depending on what your customer chose, we can do different workflows, do routers, we can scale different files based off of what they uploaded versus what they ordered. We can do customer holds or pre-press holds and determine what to do next on the file. And then we have a completion of the router or of the workflow. Also part of that process, if you're familiar with Presero, we have something called AWI, which is our automated workflow integrator. This is tightly integrated with that as well. And after the file is completed, AWI can grab the file, the production file, and push it into RIPs or hot folders or move it through your network. As I was saying, variables. So we can have variables and conditions that can extend to pricing calculators, have attributes, user variables. Variable can be initiated in a workflow through a pricing calculator. So what you can see here is, we've got a business card pricing calculator on the left. Let's say maybe a customer comes in and they upload a 4-color PDF file, but they choose that they want to have a black and white business card. We can inject what they ordered into the workflow, do an automated color conversion, and show a proof in black and white and automate that process. So since this is integrated tightly with Presero, we've kind of redefined how you can do file uploads per product. So a product is something that you're offering on a website. In the past, we always had file uploads where customers can upload files. What we're doing now is having a workflow tagged to that file upload. So in this instance, I have a saddle stitch book, and I've got 2 different uploads, one for the file or one for the cover and one for the text. And those are based off of 2 different workflows. The cover is going to do a 4-page imposition, and then the text will do 16 or 8-page imposition based off of that text as well. Our pre-flight, I'll go through this in a little bit, but we can pre-flight very common issues from document integrity, whether or not they have form fields, annotations, file size. We can even do restrictions on file size, image resolution, whether to fail or to warn a user, page count, page dimensions, empty pages, whether or not a file has bleed, page orientation, whether or not you're expecting a horizontal or a vertical. We can actually take that variable into the workflow and also create some imposition rules based on that as well. Spot colors, fonts, rich black, overprint, and text safety distance. From there, we can do a file fix, and I'll show this off in a few minutes as well. But we can auto fix missing bleed. We can do color space transformations, resize pages, and we can even resize based off of variables. We can do image resolution upscale, truncate pages, add trim marks, rich black, outline fonts, flatten, and also overprint issues as well. From there, we can extend the workflow to include imposition. And part of that imposition would be maybe a step and repeat, saddle stitch, cut and stack, or so many up. And this can also be automated after the fact with our AWI to create a touchless workflow that goes straight into the rep. From here, we'll have a workflow session. So when a file is brought into the workflow, we'll have reporting on every step that the file encounters, whether it's through injection, the source where it came from, the name, whether or not it passed pre-flight, all of the issues that it encountered, the fixes, and the proofing step as well. We can have proofing approvals, and I'll show you this. So we have two steps. One can be during checkout. So before a customer checks out and pays, we will pre-flight, fix, and proof. They have to approve the proof in order to check out. We can also take it to where the file is uploaded directly into Presero. And if you don't want them to have to approve the proof before checkout, we can automate an email containing the proof as well. We have the ability to decline proofs, resubmit files in case they send the wrong version. So this proofing setup is based off of an email proof being sent. You can customize the look, the feel, your logo, and also display what you want to show in the proof, whether it's file size, image resolution, and whether or not those are warnings or errors as well. So fully customizable. So with that, I'm going to get into a live demo. We have 3 different plans, and hopefully after this webinar, you can reach out for a personalized demo with our sales staff. But this is all software as a service. It's on a cloud. We're basing it on our plans on maximum files per day and maximum file size. So with that, let me launch PDF2Press. So what you're seeing here is our workflow. Over on the left, if you are a current Presero customer, you'll probably see a new menu here. And as we go down through here, we've got our workflow sessions that I'll show, and we've got our workflows. So at any given point, you can bring an injection point. Can't do it because I've already got one. Bring a pre-flight in, tie that pre-flight profile to something that you've already created, and I'll show that in a second. We can do some fixes, so I'll just grab and attach the fix right after the pre-flight. If I wanted to do any conditions, I can do that as well. Maybe a condition is based off of empty pages, or it could be a page size or anything like that. We can actually go in and determine our own as well. So first page width, I can determine if it's equal to or not equal to, and then pass that along as a string, a value, or another variable within the workflow. And I'll show you that in a second. From here, we can add a proof. Maybe I need to move these over a little bit. We can have a proof based off of a condition, whether it was met or not met. If I want to, I can delete that and just do a proof straight after the fix. From here, I can then complete my workflow. And we've got a workflow that's going to pre-flight, fix, proof, and then you're done with the workflow. So this is a little confusing, but in a second, it'll all make sense. So the next thing I'm going to do is go into our pre-flight profiles. So what you can do is determine what you want to pre-flight for, and you can even save this profile and use it on different workflows. So maybe a business card has a different workflow than a saddle stitch book, or maybe a banner has a different workflow than either one of those. So at any given time, we can come in here, we can turn everything off, and just say I want to look at document integrity. And if a form field in the PDF exists, I want to either warn or fail. If it has annotations or stamps, I can warn or fail as well. I can come in here and say the maximum file size that I'm going to allow is going to be 20 megs. If it's oversized, do I want to warn or fail? For image resolution, I can fail under certain resolution, and I can warn. Now, we can also do some upscaling on our fixed profile, so maybe this is just something you want to warn them, and then we can correct it later on in the workflow. Page dimensions, I can put in here what we are expecting. That can also be a variable coming from the pricing calculator. And if it doesn't meet that page dimension, I can warn or fail if it's outside the tolerance. I can also do some aspect ratio reporting if it's not proportional. Because in our fixed profile, we can do some resizing as well based off of proportionality. Page count. So maybe you want to put in minimums and maximums. Maybe it's a two-sided business card. You want to say a minimum is going to be 2, or maybe a saddle stitch book, minimum is going to be 4 pages at least, or maybe 8 pages, and the maximum that you can do on your saddle stitcher is 124 or whatever. You can put your minimums and maximums in here, and you can warn and fail as well. Page multiples. So in the case of a booklet, you want to have multiples of 4. Maybe it's a 2-sided banner. You need a multiple of 2 here. Orientation. We can look at the orientation if the pages are not the same orientation. So case in point, maybe an 11 by 17 cover and an 8.5 by 11 text. Empty pages. We can report if there are empty pages, and we can do first, last, or in a lot of other options as well. Does your file have bleed? If it doesn't, do we want to warn or fail? Remember, we can always fix bleed as well. So a lot of times I'm doing a fix before my pre-flight because I want to fix the bleed. And if I have fixed it, I don't want to warn them about it. Spot colors. We can even put in allowed lists or disallowed lists for spot colors. Fonts. Let me get rid of some of these. They're piling up on me, sorry. As you can see, it's a really nice interface, very easy to use. So we can look at fonts as well, have a minimum font. Do we want to warn or fail? We can also have allowed fonts and disallowed fonts. A rich black. So we can look at percentage, and we can warn or fail if it's over the maximum percentage as well. Overprints. We can do some reporting on vector and text overprints and allowed for spot colors or disallowed. So in case you're doing a die line or an overlay, something like that. And then we can also look at text safety distance from the cut edge. You can put in minimum distances and warn or fail. So those are all the things that we can do on a pre-flight profile. Next up is a fixed profile, and as you can, excuse me, as you can see, everything is can either be toggled on or off. So we can do a color space transformation, automatically transfer it over to Grackle or Swap or anything else that you may want. We can resize pages, and this can also be based off of variables. So we can resize pages, and we can even do proportionate or scale or stretching as well. This comes into play a lot with banners. Image resolution. Do I want to upscale? Does a pretty good job. Truncate pages. Do I want to remove pages after a certain number? Add bleeds. So we can add bleed, and if so, how do you want to do it? Do you want to mirror the image or repeat the last pixel? Very simple is adding trim marks. Doing rich black. Do we want to convert? If so, what are your CMYK measurements? How do we want to apply them? Do we want to reduce rich black objects? Fonts, we can outline fonts. We say not recommended because processing's time. Overprint, we can set overprint for spot colors or black objects. And we can also flatten. If so, what is the resolution for your flattening? Next up would be imposition profiles. Very simple to build. You can do it in inches and millimeters. You've got your output sheet size, your trim of actually what the trim size is for the piece, the bleed, your gutters, and your margins left and bottom, and then how many in up. We can do step and repeat, cut and stack, die cut, cross down. We can include crops, whether or not we want to do a duplex. You refresh it, and it's going to show exactly what you requested in the imposition preview. Next up is our proofing profile. Now remember, this is if you are not having them checked out not having them proofed during the checkout process. This would be, I want them to check out, I want to email them a proof. And at this, we have the exact same thing to be able to toggle on and off. And I can toggle on and off warnings and errors or just errors only. What that's going to do is it's going to allow them to see in the proof all of these issues that you have determined that you want them to see and be reported on. Okay, very simple user interface. Everybody can understand what the issues are and where it's located. So now we get into injection types. So remember I said it's integrated tightly with Presero, and a customer can utilize the file upload feature that can then trigger a workflow. We can also look at email watch box or watched email boxes. So you would here set up your email account. Anytime the email came in with a file, it would automatically grab that file and turn it into a workflow or pass it into a workflow and then send that email off to the person who sent it in. And then you can even dictate what kind of files you want it to bring out of the email. You can also put in minimum file size and maximum file size and the maximum number of attachments, mainly because a lot of times people have taglines with little images. We can actually go in and say ignore that. We can also do this for cloud storage. So anytime someone uploads a file to your Google Drive or OneDrive, we can determine folder mapping, and it'll automatically ingest that into a workflow and then also send a proof as well. Communication profiles. This is where you set up what the email is going to look like that goes out. So as you can see, we can toggle on and off all of these different options. We can go into an editor, choose something, change the title. We have a rich text editor, so you can determine what it's going to look like. We can show warnings, errors, or both. If we're going to show a warning and an error, maybe you want to have different descriptions as well. And then we can go in and customize the look and feel of the background, type, anything you want. And then you can even go in and set up your logo as well. Next up is our retention policies. So here we have a bird's eye view of everything that is within your subscription. We've got the number of workflow sessions, the total of files, total storage that we're using, and then what is going to be deleted in the next 30 days. And that is based off of my retention policy that I set up. I can even go in and look at different files and then also change when they're going to be deleted. And we can even do original files or production files. So if I want to add a new one, I can give it a name and then put in how many days I want to retain the source and how many days I want to retain the final version. Pretty simple to set those up, but once you have those in place, you don't really have to worry about your storage. It'll take care of itself. Here's our workflow sessions. So when a file is uploaded and passed through a workflow, this is the report that you'll be seeing. You can see exactly how it was injected into the workflow, whether it was Presero, an email, or a cloud drive. The source, okay, so this is actually coming from an order, and then the file name. The variables are what was passed from Pressero. So all of these are coming from my pricing calculator. And now that they're injected in the workflow, I can use these to determine which route my workflow may or may not go. If it's two-sided, maybe I want to do a two-sided imposition versus a one-sided imposition. If it's color, maybe the pricing calculator is color, black and white. I can then branch my workflow off based off of that variable as well. The next thing in this workflow is a pre-flight. It's telling me what happened during the pre-flight, how many pages it had, the image resolution. So this one passed. And then we're looking at the page dimensions as well. And it's all proportional to what was brought in. And then we're also looking at page orientation, which allows me to then dictate on my imposition as well. Also looked at the bleed, determined that there was no bleed. We looked at the rich black, overprint, and text safety distance from the edge. I put in a requirement of 1/16 of an inch, and it passed all of that. The next step in the workflow was to do a fix process, and it added bleeds to the file. And then we have a proof. So here I can go in as an operator and check the proofing page if I want. And it's already been approved. It'll tell you who approved it and when. And what we can see here is it actually created that bleed and did a mirror. So this isn't the best, having that about 1/16 of an inch, but it's better than having no bleed at all. And over here on the left, we have it broken down into issues, fixes, and details based off of the file and the pages. So in this particular case, there were no issues found from the file. It did add bleeds, and it outlined the fonts as well. From the file, if I reset my screen, we've got a couple of issues because it did not find a bleed. And on page 2, we have an issue. It did not find the bleed as well. And since there wasn't any bleed, it automatically added the bleed. And then we can go into the details to determine the trim box, bleed box, crop box, and media. We can also reset the proof to 100% to fill the screen. And over here on the far right, we have the ability to show trim, show bleed, and show crop boxes as well. Okay. As we go down through the workflow session, we have everything about the file, how it was created, the page count, trim boxes, a preview of it. I've also got a preview of all the pages as well. I can download the original, I can download the production, and I can also download the pre-flight or workflow report as well. But also remember, if you are subscribed to Presero and you have AWI, AWI can then pick up that production file and pass it on through your workflow. The next step is within Presero. So you can set up your product just like you would any other time. So this is a booklet. We've got the URL. We've got the description, everything about the product that I'm selling, our artwork, and now we have a new tab called Uploads. So with this booklet, I want to have two different workflows going for this product, and it's going to treat the file uploads differently. So here I've got upload the cover file here. It's going to use a workflow for the cover. Same for the text. It's going to treat the text different in a different workflow. So that's all the setup process. All we need to do is define a workflow and then tie it to a product. So if we go back to the workflow, let me get out of this one since I messed it up. And let me go into a workflow that I've got a variables built for a pricing calculator that's going to inject the file. It's going to fix the bleed. Then it's going to do a basic pre-flight based off of the pre-flight profile that I created. Then we have a condition here. So the condition is saying if the pricing calculator said color and it matches the pricing calculator full color, then I want to convert it to an ICC profile for Grackle. If it doesn't have that coming in from the injection, maybe it's looking for black and white, it'll automatically convert it to grayscale. It'll then send a proof, and then the workflow is complete. So let's look at this in action. So this is a basic Pressero web page that I've built with all of my different products. And we'll do a business card real quick. Here are all of my pricing calculators. As you can see, it's going to recalculate. If I want to do a black and white, here's my file upload. So I'm going to grab a 4-color business card. Look at it as we can see that that's 4-color. I'll go ahead and add it. And the next thing I need to do is to check out and approve the proof. Right now it's going through the workflow, it's pre-flighting it, it's fixing any issues, and it's preparing a proof for your customer. They cannot check out until they approve the proof. Remember, there's 2 ways to do this. We can do it so they have to approve the proof before checkout, or you can allow them to upload the file, check out, pay, and then the workflow will begin and automatically send them a proof. So now that our proof is ready, you can see it was a 4-color business card. I chose black and white. Maybe I didn't. Didn't I? Let's go in and edit it. Yeah, I did. All right. Let's go to my shopping cart. Check out. Proof is ready. And for some reason, my workflow has probably been changed. We've been doing so many testing on that. We'll look at the workflow real quick. And my variable, color matches any 4-color. And convert to grayscale. Let's see what that was supposed to say.
Or maybe.
What's that?
Or maybe
That's right. I've got 2 workflows here, business cards, and the one that I was showing the workflow on. So it was operator error. You get rid of that and use the correct workflow to show you exactly what I was trying to do. Sorry about that, operator error. We'll do black and white. I will upload the file again and add to cart. We go to the checkout. So this can usually do a proof in 10 to 30, 40 seconds, pretty quick. Our proof is ready, and it is black and white. Operator error. All right, so it took the variable from the pricing calculator, followed the workflow to determine what it should do. It converted it to black and white. We can look at our fixes. It added bleed. As you can see, it mirrored that area there. It outlined the fonts. It transformed the color space to grayscale, and it actually fixed image resolution. So if I look at the page, these are all the areas that had an image resolution area. So it's showing 147 dpi. I had a warning and then a fail if it was at 72. So all these little areas, we actually upscaled. Everything was upscaled to 200 dpi. I can decline the proof. Maybe I sent the wrong version. I can go in and send in a new postcard. Let's try this one. It's going to automatically re-queue it into the workflow, pre-flight, fix, and then prepare a proof. As you can see, customer cannot check out until they approve the proof. So just imagine now you have fully production ready files. The customer is taking care of uploading the file, approving the proof. You get the order and it's ready to be printed. So now we've got a new file. They sent us the wrong one. They declined it, uploaded the new one. Were there any issues? Yes, added bleeds, it outlined the fonts, and it converted it to grayscale. It also fixed some image resolution. And if we look at where that is, it's not showing me, so it must be outside the trim area. I've got my details, so I can look at the page information, see my trim box, bleed box, everything. Now when I approve the proof, give it a second, it's going to show approved, and now I can check out. Asking me for a ship date, I'll say Friday. I'll go through the checkout process and pay. Now we'll add a couple other files while this is processing, and then we'll look at the workflow session in just a second. So in this particular case, I want to do a banner. It's a pretty large banner, so I'll do 24.5 by 60. I'm going to pass my width and height as a variable into my workflow, and it's going to automatically resize it. So if I go to my PDF file, here's my banner. This banner is actually 24 inches by 60 inches. So I'm putting in as a customer, I want it to be 24.5. PDF2Press is actually going to scale it to make it match 24.5. So we will now add the banner. Remember, this is a large file, 24 by 60. So it's going to take a little bit of time to process it, add it to the workflow, pre-flight, fix, and proof. It's right now, it's uploading a file. When I go to checkout, it begins the workflow. This is all in the cloud, no hardware involved on the customer end. It's a subscription, so at any given time, you can add this to your plan and be up and running with pre-press automation. Still processing it. Couple of large photographs here. So now my proof is ready. It's going to take a second to draw the actual proof here because it's so large. While we're waiting on that, we can look at the details. So showing the trim box of 24.5 by 60. Remember, the actual file was 24 by 60. As soon as it draws it, it added bleeds, it resized the page, and here is our resized, stretched banner. Oops, I don't know why my thing does that. It's my mouse. Here we can decline or approve. If I click approve, it's going to allow me to then check out. And now that we've approved this, let's do a postcard real quick. And PDF to press postcard. I can pass all these variables if I need to. Maybe 4/4, 4/1. Let me upload a postcard. This particular postcard is 4 by 6 with no bleed. There's page 2. When I upload it, it's going to pass it through the workflow, pre-flight, fix, add the bleed, and get ready to do the proof. As you can see, this is my shopping cart. I've already approved my banner. It's sitting here waiting for me to check out. Proof is now ready. Got my bleed box, my crop box, my trim box. As you can see, it added that bleed. The fixes, it added bleeds, it outlined the fonts, converted it to Grackle, added trim marks, and did some overprint, and it did some fixing of resolution for upscaling. So if I go into my issues, I can see exactly what the problem was. So this particular image came in at 114 DPI. It did not pass my checks in my workflow, but my fix profile, I said that I wanted to upscale it. So at this particular point, we can approve it. And here we can check out. Choose my ship date. Now I can complete the order. When I go back into Presero, I have my orders that just came in. And which ones are they? Business cards with the collar variable. So I can go into this order. If I go to my files, I now have something called session details. In PDF to Press, I also have something called workflow sessions. So you can look at your workflow sessions, or you can also click on the session details associated with that, and it'll open this workflow session right here. Here's the variables that was passed from the pricing calculator, what it fixed. So it added bleeds. It went through a pre-flight. Remember, I've got it fixed before pre-flight because I want to fix the bleed instead of reporting that it doesn't have bleed. We did some image resolution. So all of these were 72 DPI. Here is a condition. I said if the color matches any full color. This is the image resolution upscale, and then the proof. I can go into the banner, go into our files, go into the session details. Here's our variables. So we defined this within the workflow. It came in as 24.5 by 60. The actual file was 24 by 60. We went through the pre-flight process. We looked through the condition, because I was talking about the page width and page height and what I wanted to do to it. An action step. So I said if it did not meet that, I wanted to do a stretch. It then added bleeds. Here is our proof and a completion. So if I wanted to, let's say they added it to their shopping cart, and then they abandoned the cart, you can resend them an email. Or if you're now having the option to have them approve the proof before checkout, and it's an email proof, you can actually resend the email, and you can even dictate a new email to send as well to a different person. Let's see. Have I covered everything, Lisa? Lisa's quiet, so I take that as a yes.
We have questions, but I've been answering them.
Oh, good job. So that is PDF2Press in a nutshell. There is so many things you can do, especially when you start talking about the different variables. You can define them. One thing I did not talk about was the action step. So currently, you have pre-flight profiles and fixed profiles that you can then assign to a workflow. A lot of times when we were developing this, we would start building a workflow, and then we'd say, oh, I forgot to create a pre-flight profile. I then have to go back and create a profile so I could then attach it. So what we've done is we've created an action step. I can click an action and tie it directly to something. And I can build my action step without building a profile. So I can say all of these different things. Let's say I want to add bleeds. I can even pull in a variable, and I can tell it what I want to do. So you can build variables right as you're building anything. Makes it a lot easier. So you can have your pre-flight profiles, your fixed profiles that can be determined. But let's say you have a one-off thing where you're building variables, you can build an action step in there. And then you can even do a condition here and say, does it meet it? Yes. Does it meet it? No. And then we can branch off of that as well. So, all right. So Lisa, you said there were questions and you're answering them. Anything for the group?
So I've been making public answers with them, except for the first one, because I'm asking Marco. Is it possible in PDF2Press to generate an automatic calculation of the average toner coverage per job? And is there an option to perform automatic steps to reduce toner consumptions? So the only thing I got out of that was maybe restricting DPIs and converting your black, but
the one thing that we could do, I know you're talking toner coverage, but we can look at maximum CMYK percentages, and then on a fix, we can utilize that to bring that down. So if I add a new one, rich black. So I can convert different rich black objects as well, which will reduce your toner coverage. It's one thing we can do. Don't know if that answered the exact question. You can also reach out after the webinar, and we'll be more than happy to get on a call. And Lisa is reaching out to the head of R&D right now, so we should have an answer. Anything else?
Olivia asked about the email proofing. Can they set it up to go to a specific user group, boss or user? So that's based on like what we do with Presero, right? But I think this just goes out to the user doing the checkout, right? Because we're trying to get our hands off of it so they can be more productive. So the user is more in charge of their own proof, right?
Correct. That is something that we can look at, though. If you have a use case, since this is a brand new solution, we do have a lot of things we're working on to improve and to add new features as well. So what you're looking at right here is a PDF, an email proof instead of going through checkout. So I've got my logo. This can be branded for you, a title. It's got a visual of what the file was. In this particular case, I'm just showing a warning about insufficient bleed, and then they would click on View Proof. That proof would come up, and then they can either approve or decline.
So somebody's asking what routers is.
So, okay. Go into a router. So a router can do a lot of different things. So it can do if, and, or else. So depending on your variables coming in, we can then determine to redirect to different workflows. So you can use that in combination with variables, or you can just use it as a workflow router based off of maybe something from the file, whether it's a portrait or landscape. We can then push it over to a different workflow as well.
Next question, what is the difference between the fix and action? See, an action is not available in the two lower tiered plans, correct?
Correct. So, as I was saying earlier, I can create a fixed profile, and I can determine everything that I want to happen on that profile. Okay? In this particular case, I did not choose flattened transparencies. When I'm in the workflow, I might be building something, and I go to my fix, and I'm like, I didn't add flattened transparency. Okay. In that case, I would then have to go back into fix profile, find my profile, add it, and then save it. An action step allows you to grab a one-off and say, okay, I can just build what I want to do with a fixed profile, and I will add a flatten right here. Okay, so now I can say, let's do an action, and let's bring it in. It's just a quicker way of building on the fly instead of forgetting to do something, kind of like I did earlier when I chose the wrong workflow. But when you're building it, it's really nice to be able to build on the fly.
Next question, is this available for dedicated server users? When will it be deployed?
It was deployed 2 days ago on dedicated servers. We can easily add that to your dedicated instance.
Next question, can you merge data to generate multiple pages that can then be approved? So if we look at different pages with different actions,
depends on what she means by, he or she means by data.
Right, maybe Joe and I can converse after. How can I quit Joe after? That is it. Then I think I got them all. Let's. I'm gonna hit the results on the polls.
Oh, we got a hand up. Somebody's asking.
Just see what who's raising their hand.
If you tell, this is our first webinar with this platform, so we're still trying to figure out all the nuances. I really trusted Lisa, but she can't find the hand right now. So.
I found the hand. It's okay. Patrick Edwards. Should we allow Patrick to talk?
Well, this is being recorded, so why don't we just take it offline?
Okay.
So.
Publishing the results of the polls.
Like I said, we're really excited about this. I think it's going to move the automation much more towards the very front end where the customer is doing a lot of the work themselves, which is going to allow your pre-press staff to do what they can do best and really work on problem files or allow them to do other things. We've been working on this for over a year. We had members of an advisory panel as well who have been trying it out for the past year, and we're excited. I hope you guys are too. Hopefully we'll get a lot of demos coming up in the next week or so we can do a personal demo, allow you guys to maybe do your own files. We can build some workflows with you during the workflow.